This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall President and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
Well, welcome to the show, to the Classic Auto Mall Show, show number 213, coming to you from Morgantown, Pennsylvania. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm getting my photo taken, so make sure my wires are straight.
Did you get your hair did? So before we start with our wonderful guest,
yes.
Let's guess how many cars are in inventory today, and another Porsche reference.
Oh, I noticed
not the obvious Porsche reference, though.
The truck room is a little empty here, so I think we did. So I'm going to go with 911.
It wouldn't be that obvious.
912.
908.
Oh, I was going to say 908. I was going to say 908. Did we do 908 last week?
Well, no, we did 904 last week, if you want to get technical about it. So, anyway, joining us via Zoom, vis-a-vis through London area, UK, England, and 5 hours ahead of us, Mr. Karl Ludvigsen, author, journalist, historian of motorsport. Did I miss anything? I think you got all the bases covered.
I think you covered it pretty well there. That's all right.
Thanks.
I have been over. I've been a guy running a consulting company for automobiles,
sure,
and engineering, and I've worked for Ford in Europe, working on international affairs and
sure,
racing. And had a little spell with Fiat and also GM. I spent about 5 years with GM in different jobs.
And you worked for GM in the 50s, right?
Pardon?
Did you work for GM in the 50s?
I did. Well, I did. I worked with them in '56. I was a designer in the styling section.
Right.
And then I went away, and then I came back in the late, late 50s. Yeah,
right.
Late 50s for about 3 or 4 years with GM.
That must have been exciting times at General Motors in the styling department. That was some interesting styling that we were seeing back then. Probably never.
It was. We really had a fantastic period. I mean, GM in the early 60s was a powerhouse,
right,
absolutely sensational. And the nice thing about it was that I was involved in public relations and trying to get information from our company into the larger world, and everywhere I went in GM, and I went everywhere. I went to the train engine business to,
right,
you name it, in this company. And everywhere I went, people were very, very helpful.
Right.
They didn't. Here I was messing up their day, and,
right,
asking a lot of questions.
Who is this guy?
But
saying,
boy, they were pros.
Right.
GM was a company of pros, and Bill Mitchell was in his absolute peak activity at the time. We had the Buick Riviera coming out,
right,
and the 1963 Corvette, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, exciting times.
Great.
And he was great. I mean, but people don't realize that General Motors was into a lot more than just cars and trucks. I mean, they, like you said, they were building trains and all kinds of different.
Oh,
they had
big business.
Fingers in a lot of pies. So, and then of course you've got, and I want to get to your book, your new book, right away. You've authored dozens of books, right? I mean, it's
past 70 actually.
Wow.
But there's some small ones and
right,
a few big ones and
sure,
so on. But I started in the late 50s with a book about my boss in when I first started working for Sports Cars Illustrated,
right,
as it was at the time, started work on an MG book, and he couldn't quite finish it. He said, "Why don't you finish it, Karl?" And, and so that's how I got involved in writing books. And I did a few more for that publisher in New York, and then kind of carried on one way or another. My first really, I think, thoughtful and useful book was my first Corvette book.
Right.
I got the Corvette story rolling, and because actually I had worked when I was working at GM in the same area as the guys who designed and built the first Corvette. So they had a lot to tell me about what happened and so on. So it's kind of nice to be around when the information is there.
Sure. And the Corvette almost didn't make it, right? I mean, there was thoughts and talk of maybe
it was a nip and tuck. You're absolutely right. It was, but maybe it's not quite as
dire,
risky as it seemed.
Right.
But GM did put pressure behind it, and they did back it, and when they put the 56 out, it really started to go.
Sure.
I remember I was doing road testing for magazines in those days. Well, I drove the 56 Corvette. That was really spectacular.
Yeah.
With a terrific gearbox and great engine, and boy, it was super duper.
What a lot of fun that must have been, testing all the cars and putting them to their limits and having.
It was good fun.
Yeah.
Well, I had a lot of fun at when I was working at GM in PR at styling staff. There's a car called the original StingRay Racing Car.
Right.
And Bill Mitchell was kind of keen on that, and he often had serious major league people around to visit, and we hauled out the Stingray, and I got to drive the poor the poor visitor around, and we used the roads of the GM Tech Center in Detroit, and I got to know those pretty well.
I would imagine so.
That was wonderful.
So you got to scare anybody who decided they were brave enough to get in the car with you, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. No, it wasn't too bad. I didn't try to knock them out, but it was fun.
You also had an affinity for Porsches. Porsche.
Yeah, that's
excellence,
fair to say.
Excellence was expected. I love that title. That's a fantastic title. Excellence wasn't just we hope we get there. It's expected.
Yeah. Well, that is. Thank you for that. That's a great. I really appreciate that. I took over the project from another writer, as it happens, because what happened? I don't even.
Sure.
I'm trying to think what happened, but he I don't know what he died actually quite young. That may have been the reason.
That may.
But I had nothing to do with it. Not my fault. But I knew he was writing it, and I had told the publisher that. If anything happens, or I'd be interested. Working on that Porsche story, and when he gave me all of his what he'd written so far.
Sure.
And I felt when I read what he'd done, the bit that he started, there was a lot of. Probably this happened, and it's likely that this happened.
Right.
It seems like this took place, and so forth and so on. And I thought, wait a minute, this is not old news. It's possible to go and talk to people who are still around,
right,
who know what happened at the beginning of the Porsche company. So this is what I did. I interviewed people up to Ferry Porsche and a number of other people, and so the book had real guts to it.
Right.
good outlook on what was going on.
Sure. And then in your Fast Friends, Stars and Heroes in the World of Cars, you talked about Ferry Porsche in there as well too. And there's a statement that you put in there that Ferry Porsche said that I want to read because it's so cool. Ferry once said, "No one makes a car like we do, made specially for the purpose, down to every last screw and bolt. Others in Italy do it, but their cars cost twice as much as ours."
Oh, okay. Yeah, well.
I love that statement. That yes, you can get one from Italy, but it will be twice as expensive. Porsches were efficient. They were not wasteful, and they weren't flamboyant when it came to pricing. Compared to Ferrari.
No, that's right. That's right.
And of course, now your archives are at the Revs Institute down in Florida, or a big portion of them. I see there's quite a few behind you, so they didn't get
Yes,
all.
sir. I do have a few books around. That's right.
So you did.
True.
You did donate some of your stuff though to the Revs Institute, right?
I did to the Revs outfit in Florida.
Yeah.
The Collier operation.
Right.
They were mainly interested in my photographs. I had a big photographic collection, and they took that off my hands.
Sure.
But I managed to hang on to a few books. Yes, I did.
It's good to know that it went to good hands, though, right? It's nice to know that they'll take good care of it and be good stewards.
Oh, it is. It is definitely in good hands. Yeah, absolutely.
So your latest book, I can talk about how many pages and how many 3 volumes, over 600 pages. It weighs almost 19 pounds.
Yes, it does. It does.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's pretty hefty.
Yeah, that's incredible. So the title of the book is appropriately Power Unleashed, Trailblazers Who Energize Engines with Supercharging and Turbocharging. And right there we have it. Yeah. I don't want you to strain yourself now.
Yeah, that's it.
You can work out with that every morning.
I know. I wanted to work out. I named it as the Trailblazers, who started all of this.
Right.
I really do want to dedicate it to the engineers and developers who did it. Just to emphasize that, the back of each book has the key people that were working on things in those days, and so I really wanted to put them up front and forward, and because their curiosity and their interest and their knowledge is what contributed to the development and the way supercharging and turbocharging did develop over the years.
Well, for those of us who grew up in the 60s and 70s, we thought the Turbo Porsche was the first turbocharged vehicle, and we didn't know any better. Right. And that was an iconic car. I mean, a turbocharged car at the time. But turbocharging and supercharging have gone back to back to the late 1800s. Was it? Is that far back?
Well, yes. In fact, one of the very first engines that the Germans worked on in about 1885 had an element of supercharging in that they had a little spring operated valve in the top of the piston.
Right.
Which is arranged in such a way that when the piston went up on the exhaust movement, there was a pressure developed in the crankcase that gave a supercharging effect,
a boost.
They said we might as well, while we're at it, we might as well do something like that.
Right.
And they did. And so it has that kind of history to give us a start.
Well, and then the Bentley stuff from the 20s and what they were doing with the blowers and the blower Bentleys and all of that were fascinating cars because they weighed a gazillion pounds, but they had that extra boost to kind of make them faster. Same with the Duesenbergs, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. But Walter Bentley didn't really like that.
Oh, really?
He wasn't keen. It's hard to believe, but he said, "Look, I've built my engine the way I want it.
Right.
I don't want anybody fooling around, making it less reliable by pushing more air and effort through." So he left it to other people to develop turbochargers, superchargers, and put them in the. But they are now, of course, famous for a big supercharger sticking out of the front of the car.
But that totally makes sense. I mean, just like aftermarket parts you'd put on a Chevy V8, I mean, the engine was designed for a certain amount of load and a certain amount of horsepower and torque. And when you change that, you're not, it's throwing the dynamic off of what they built in the first place. I understand that.
But I think people found that, there was a lot of engines that were adapted to supercharging in a way that if you were careful about your gasket,
right,
the head gasket, if you get that sorted properly, and of course Bugatti did that. He didn't even have a gasket, a gap. He put the whole block together.
Sure.
There was no place to put a gasket. In the same way with, say, Mercedes and their Grand Prix racing cars and so on, they took care not to have a problem with boost pushing out too far.
Sure, because I mean, it's just like turbocharging or supercharging any of it. You can only, the engine will only stand so much, without some kind of reinforcement, right?
Yep, that's right. Very much so.
Well,
I mean, the big time. You're right. People thought about Porsche, but back in the beginning of serious turbocharging in America was in the early '60s,
right,
when GM with the Corvette,
right,
Chevrolet, and with the Corvair,
right,
was one turbocharged car, and up in Flint, Oldsmobile was doing a turbocharging job.
Yeah,
so they were racing each other to the finish.
Right. I think the F85 or what it was that had
that was about 1963.
Yeah, and they had the little boost gauge. I remember on the center console and
it was quite exciting.
Yeah, all of that was exciting. And, I mean, some of the concept cars, I guess, explored different power sources and didn't necessarily always use them in production, but it certainly furthered the cause of supercharging and turbocharging and all of the induction type stuff that you've got.
Yep, that's right. But they were, but then GM went cubic inch crazy. and they decided to up their engine displacement, and right away they kind of ruled out the need for supercharging.
Right.
Because there's always a balance between the need to have a large cubic inch displacement in the engine. The balance is different if you have a smaller displacement with the supercharger.
Right.
So, but that kind of knocked out the GM initiative.
Right.
They moved very quickly to larger displacement engines. That they weren't chasing the superchargers.
Well,
Until about a decade later,
right,
Buick got into the act.
Yeah. Well, and
Believe it or not.
yeah, and turbochargers and superchargers. I mean, they were not without their faults, I guess, if you could say. A normal driver wasn't used to a turbo lag and a turbo boost all of a sudden coming on. You floor the gas and it goes, and then when that turbocharger kicks in, if you're not holding on and aim straight, it could be a problem.
Yes, it was, and that's true, especially with the Grand Prix cars.
Right.
That was difficult, and other kinds of racing cars that were adapted to supercharging and turbocharging more than supercharging.
Right.
Supercharging doesn't have that problem,
Right.
but turbocharging certainly does. It's a kind of exciting acceleration, but it can be a little bit, it's a little bit slow at first sometimes, and then it gets going, and of course engineers worked hard to overcome that sort of lack of initial push.
Right.
And successfully in many cases. That was gotten over quite well.
And it took some getting used to, no different than a front-wheel drive car. I remember the first time I drove a front-wheel drive car, it felt very awkward, and it was, it wasn't very well designed. And of course, but I mean, gotta think that the heyday, and maybe I'm wrong, but the heyday of turbocharging had to be in the Can-Am series in the late 60s, early 70s.
It was thanks to it was not that active, to tell you the truth. There was people were using some superchargers here and there. It was kind of spotty,
right?
At first, Oldsmobile had a double roots blower, and there were a couple of guys doing things, but that was mostly a big cubic inch V8 operation.
Sure.
And it did. That's where Porsche came in the Can-Am with turbocharging, and believe you me, the first time Mark Donahue got in a turbocharged Porsche 917 and drove it on the factory track. He said, "Well, there's a lot of work to be done here," because it started out kind of a little slow, and then it went overwhelmingly fast with this turbo getting out, and that they found that the trick was going to be the operation of the system that they had for injecting fuel.
Right.
So they had if they got that fuel right, then it was okay. But it took them a while at Porsche to get that settled.
Right.
But Mark. They finally got a kind of way of operating it and getting it to respond to the requiremments, and Mark said he had a successful run around the track at Weissach, and said he came back. He said, "I am so happy about this pump." He said, "This is so great. You really licked it."
Sure.
And the guys there in the organization said they put it aside and said, "This is the happy pump."
Right.
And every time they had a little problem, they went back to the happy pump to see why it wasn't working in the right way.
Wow.
So that was a big breakthrough.
And my understanding is that the 1,500 horsepower Porsches in that era were the highest horsepower Porsches ever built to this day.
The highest
horsepower Porsches that were ever built, including things modern Porsches.
Yes. Well, they did have the last version of the 917 turbo car was quite something. Mark Donahue got one of the cars from Porsche and operated it seriously. They put in some very special trick stuff,
right?
Because they wanted to set a new lap record at I think one of the
was it Talladega?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think it was.
I'm trying to think where it was, but one of the NASCAR tracks, the bank tracks.
Right.
There's a big question of who was the quickest around that track.
Yeah.
And they got it going, and Mark did successfully break the record there with putting in the turbochargers and pump and some other trick stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But when the car came in to the pits, it was aflame at the rear. it was a near thing. it would burst into flame.
Yeah.
It really was pulling out all the knots.
I would imagine so. And of course, they said back in the day, the Can-Am racing, the rule book was the thinnest rule book in the history of motorsports.
Was the
thinnest rule book in the history of motorsports.
Yeah,
there was not much of rules in the Can-Am day. It wasn't a 3-volume, 18-pound version like you have.
Yeah. Well, in the book. One of the most interesting stories, of course, is Renault.
Right.
Because everybody said, well, the normal limitation for an unblown engine in Formula One was 3 liters, and then you could have a blower of some kind but you had to only have 1.5 liters.
Right.
So they all said, well, there's no way, this can really work. And you can't really do much with anything but, with 1.5 liters against 3, because most of them hit a limit at about 530 horsepower.
And that was
out of the 3-liter engines. I mean, that was sort of the very best V12s. They managed to get up in the break the 500 mark, but they were stuck.
Well, yeah.
But Renault said, well, we're going to give it a try. And they did, and with a V6 that they had developed, and with a single Roots type supercharger. Yeah. No, sorry, I beg your pardon. It was turbocharger, of course. Yeah, that was a turbocharger. And they did finally break it. It took them about 2.5 years of being laughed at, and as the flying tea kettle, they called it, with the steam coming out everywhere.
Sure.
And but it did get finally. The minute they won a race, which they did, everybody said, "Oh, okay, okay, all right,
we get it."
And then they were rushing, trying to find the best makers of turbochargers.
Sure.
So that was tricky, because you had to have the right access to a company that was prepared to tweak the designs, the diameters, the internal of the turbo. It was very sensitive, and you had to have the respective diameters and smoke and curves and so on to make it really do the job for that particular engine.
Sure.
And if you're not making these turbochargers, you're not going to get very far. So it was tricky for those who couldn't buy or otherwise sneak in a turbo that was properly fitted to the engine.
Sure. Well, and I recall that the early turbo Porsches in 1976, the street versions, they were less than 300 horsepower. They were 200 and maybe 70 horsepower. I think that number comes to mind for some reason. They weren't.
Oh, and it was all there. Believe me. I went on the press launch in the U.S. for the turbo Porsche. Wow. And they did it at a 7.5 mile oval track in Ohio. They brought the cars there and let us loose with them. And I have to tell you, there were a bunch of guys really putting their feet into it and motoring around that track at a pretty nifty speed.
Sure.
And the acceleration, of course, was epic.
Yeah,
and that's why there were having a lot of problems with early adopters overdoing it, and
right.
There were a lot of body work had to be done by the dealers when these cars started reaching the public.
Sure, which may have been a good thing for the dealers, right? Maybe it's obviously
maybe
another,
so,
maybe another profit center, but. But, you know, modern cars, I mean, you know, you come to today and you've got modern cars and we're doing hybrids and we're doing electrics and we're doing all these different types of cars. Where does that leave the induction of supercharging and turbocharging and all that? Is there a future for it, or is it going to be a thing of the past before we know it?
Well, I think it's going to be around for quite a long time. On both sides, the Roots type supercharger, the supercharger rather than the turbocharger. People like Borg Warner and others have brought it to a pretty high level of efficiency, and they've helped. They've worked hard on lowering the cost too, and the traditional supercharger is a very smooth operating engine, and it's very efficient. The turbos, of course, are mandatory on diesels. Diesels just everybody with a diesel has got a turbocharger under the bonnet,
right? Because
the turbocharger, the diesel likes that. It likes the pressure to get the pressure up higher,
sure,
more efficient. So, but the turbocharging too is getting again more efficient, less costly, and with better accoutrements, things that are, whether you've got a heat removing device,
right,
or some other thing that they've done a lot of work on it to keep the interest high,
sure,
and be sure to do well with the customer.
Sure. And so this book, I mean, this is your latest book. It's 3 volumes, over 600 pages per volume. Did I read 33,000 some odd pictures you have on? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, that's it.
How long did this take you?
I'm so thrilled with this book. I can't tell you. I'm one thing I really like about it is that apart from the introductory page,
right,
in every chapter, 47 chapters, it's got a little white space. There is no white space anywhere else in the book. I mean, we really filled it up properly. I'm really pleased with that.
How long did it take you?
Once I had sort of done the main work on it, I had to go back and get the pictures organized.
Right.
And that took me about a year and a half.
Wow.
And then I had to write the captions for the pictures, 3,700 pictures, and that took me another year to
wow.
do. and then the guys at Evro, the publisher, said, well, we want to be sure this book is all squared away and everything, so we want you to read it all and make notes of where you need to fix things,
right,
because it's got to be and that took another year to do that.
Wow.
To get to read it over, and then they said, well, Well, thanks for that, but we'd like you to just have one last look at it,
Wow.
And so that took about half a year, and then anyway, so even when it was done, it wasn't quite done.
Right.
But I'm very happy with the reviews that have come out, and people have said, "Well, this is pretty darn good."
I've got a copy, not in hand, but digitally, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I was going to read it before our interview, but I wanted to make sure we had the interview before now and 10 years from now.
Well, that's great. Well, it took time. I mean, it came out in the UK about July, and then it took some time to get it over to the U.S.
You should have done a contest for whoever read it first, like whoever got through it first, and they would win something. So,
yeah.
Well,
it was just great. I mean, I had it began with the fact that around 1974, I had written a history of supercharging up to that time.
Right.
For an article in Automobile Quarterly. So I kind of felt, I've got a head start here.
Sure.
I'm not completely, and in fact, the benefit of that was that writing it at that time, there were a lot of people around still.
Right.
Who were there at the beginning.
Right.
I mean, there's a chap named David Gregg that I tracked down. He designed the supercharger, the superchargers for the first charged racing car that ran at Indianapolis.
Wow. Oh, that's right. I forgot about those. Yeah.
So I had access to some people who were there at the beginning for that story. That was so I had the starting gun, as it were, with my work on the previous article. So that kind of helped.
And for our listeners who want to buy the book, they can go to Evro is the publisher is where you can buy the book or the set.
Yep. Well, no, sorry. I mean,
where you could buy the set of the books at Evro Publishing, right? Is that where they can go to purchase the book?
Right.
Yeah.
EVRO, right.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
We'll put that up on the screen for the show and make sure people can get to that because.
I hope so too, and I'll just make sure if they haven't been looking and watching.
Here it is, right here.
It's still. It's there, and it's super duper. I'm really pleased with it.
Well, as well you should be.
That's just one of the 3 volumes.
Can't hold them all 3 up at the same time, right?
Yeah,
that's too much of a workout.
Well, and the other thing, just that kind of hit me at a certain point when I was working. A lot of the kind of serious initial work on both turbos and ordinary compressors was during the First World War,
right?
Because that's when the people realized that it was essential for my planes to be up higher than yours.
Right.
The higher I can get above you,
sure,
the better off I'm going to be. And you're going to be in trouble.
Because I'm coming down on you, right?
Yeah. So they started work on serious work, especially in Germany,
right,
and also in the U.S. Turbocharging in the U.S. Compressor type. Charging in mostly in Germany, so there was quite a lot, and I had to cover that all in the aviation field, because that's pretty important.
Absolutely,
of the to have that in as a development, but of course then I had to do World War II,
right,
as well.
Yeah.
So, which is a huge story.
Yeah, that's a whole volume in itself, right?
Well, that's right. Everybody had different kinds of machinery to operate in World War II, and it really got going. They had a lot of very exciting hardware.
Wow! Look at those look at those pictures. Wow!
Oh yeah, no, the pictures are actually terrific.
Yeah.
This is all World War II stuff,
Right.
so. I had to. I thought, well, all right. I'm in for a penny,
In for a pound,
as we say.
Exactly. Well, we certainly appreciate you being on the show with us this morning and joining us. I know you got things to do this afternoon, but certainly love talking to you about your books, and huge success for you on these books, and we'll look forward to seeing you again sometime. Karl Ludvigsen, thanks so much for being on the show.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Like FedEx is bringing us something. I think it could be car parts.
Always. No,
They're always
probably
something.
T-shirts or something like that.
T-shirts or hats or something like that. So, Karl Ludvigsen, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The knowledge base that he has is just staggering. And that 3-volume set about supercharging and turbocharging, and I have not read it, in full disclosure. None
of us have.
I just got it yesterday.
It's
and I was
huge.
Like, oh, well. I'm
It's brand new. It's hot off the press.
Hot off the press. But what's interesting, the people that have read it and then I've talked to that have read it have said that it's fascinating, and you don't have to be a tech. It's one of those guys. He can write in a way that you can enjoy it, even if you're not that much of a tech nerd to want to know about every detail about supercharging and turbocharging. It's a fascinating story of history of vehicles and everything. So
Well, and going back and talking to the people who started the Corvette
Exactly.
and Porsche, getting those early references.
yeah, if you write a book today about the beginning of anything, there's going to be not very many people probably left that can talk to you
It's
about
all
it.
off documentation or whatever.
And you know what? It's just like whispering the story in somebody's ear, and it goes around the whole table. And by the time it gets back to me, it's changed. And so to be able to talk to somebody about that first-person accounts of these things and to have documented it, and he did one in 74 for supercharging and turbocharging, and then of course this one, the ultimate tome, if you will. What a great.
Well, his Porsche book is regarded as one of the
Yeah.
best. It's about 6 inches
Yeah.
thick, and it's just
make your lap sweat.
It's got everything. It's got everything. And I often quote it if we have for the 550
Sure.
back. I often go in and quote some of that book.
Right. You give him proper credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's in some of our descriptions.
Absolutely. So that's the way to do it. And it's nice when you can have a reference like that
Yeah.
to talk to people, because not everybody knows those references, or not everybody has necessarily access to that or has the time to access it. So it's nice when you can, take a little bits and pieces of it and throw it in there for people to learn. I mean, there's things that I learned today that, it's interesting, and you can continue to learn things by talking to people like him. And even though I've been around cars forever, and you have too, it doesn't matter. There's still stuff that you go, I never knew that.
For sure.
So where did we sell cars this past week? Well, I can't do all the auction cars
Where?
because that's 89 cars we sold.
Oh, come on.
We don't. They're
We've got
We're just
time.
counting our retail sales.
mostly those guys. Mostly local. I don't know the auction cars in general.
Yeah, quite a few from Ohio,
Okay.
bought from Ohio, some Maryland, some Jersey, some New York State, Pennsylvania, obviously. Makes, a lot of sense. There's
Yeah.
a lot of car people around here.
Because they had to tow them. So
And they had to tow them. So, and some of them were expensive to tow. They were big rigs. So,
Right.
Some of those Army trucks.
a few stragglers
There's
out
a few
there.
stragglers out there. The Big Mac wrecker and the
white
street
panel
sweeper
truck.
and the panel truck
Yep.
and the Jaguar. And
Jaguar's still there?
I think. Well, it was this morning. I don't know if it still is. I hope it's.
I was hoping that fall through. That's all right.
You still got your eye on.
I
that
still
thing, don't
do.
you? So, where did we sell cars last week? How about Port St. Lucie, Florida?
Easy for you to say.
Jeffersonville, New York, Reading, Pennsylvania, Spokane, Washington, Little Falls, Minnesota, Canton, Massachusetts, Hamburg, Pennsylvania, Westchester, Pennsylvania, Exton, Pennsylvania, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Houston, Texas, Morgantown, Pennsylvania,
Hey, now.
Paw Paw, Michigan, New Braunfels, Texas, Dahlonega, Georgia, Bad Doberan, Germany, Westminster, Maryland, LaGrange, Ohio, and Coon Rapids, Iowa.
Wow.
So that's from the last week where we sold cars. So
Interesting.
la.
Pawpaw.
Paw Paw, Michigan.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's right outside Kalamazoo, which is where our guest was from.
Well, there you have it.
Oh,
Originally.
How cool is that? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. There used to be a John Durr Chevrolet, and they would just have like a 5-second commercial before the news, ABC News, and it would be just like, great deals, great cars, John Durr Chevrolet, papa. And that was it. But they ran for like 10 years on this station, and man, you just knew that guy's name.
Isn't that funny? And that probably is more successful than the guys who ran half minute or minute commercials and tried to throw a bunch of stuff in them. It's like a billboard. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah,
You know? So where do new arrivals this past week?
Yes.
Where?
How about
What?
here?
This is a what question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a what, why, when, where.
Yeah,
now.
I know.
A 1966 Ford Mustang convertible, silver blue over blue, garage kept, well restored, award-winning car, and it's the 200 cubic inch inline 6-cylinder, which is so refreshing, as we've talked about many times, to see that somebody didn't throw a big V8 in it or do something to it. Left it, it's got a C4 automatic.
Nice.
Nice little, fun little driver
nice car, yeah.
It is a nice car. It really is. The 1966 Pontiac GTO convertible, Montero red over black. True 242 GTO. What does that mean? It means there's a 242 in the VIN number, which signifies it to be a GTO.
How about that?
How about it? Date correct 389 cubic inch V8, tri-power carb setup, ST300 2-speed automatic, like a Power Glide, but not. And power brakes. I guess it is a Power Glide. Would it not be a Power Glide?
It's GM, yeah.
Yeah, it's a GM car. Next is the 1934 Ford Model 40 pickup, gold over black, 382 cubic inch, 3.2-barrel V8, Ross Racing aluminum heads, 3-speed manual, Curry axle, hidden front disc brakes. I don't even know, what does that mean?
Hidden front disc? I have no idea what that is.
They're in the back.
Yeah, so you wouldn't think to look for the front disc brakes in the back.
Well,
Tricky.
Thinking maybe inboard, but that would say inboard if they were inboard.
It's podcast at classicautomall.com.
Yeah, please.
I didn't write that, so I don't know.
Oh.
If you know, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. So we're not completely out of the loop.
Right.
We'd like to stay in the loop as much as we can. How about the 1961 MG MGA Mark I 1600, Old English white over oxblood?
Yes.
Is that what the blood of an ox looks like?
Yeah, ugh.
Why not?
What a bad name.
One
perfect
family
name.
owned. Garage kept, 1588cc 4-cylinder, 4-speed manual, and rebuilt dual 1-barrel carburetor. Does that make 2 barrels?
It does make 2 barrels. Yeah.
Wow.
And
It's
3 2-barrels is 6 barrels.
Like a lawnmower.
Not like a 4-barrel in the Holly carburetor department.
There you go.
Yeah, because we used to want to put a 4-barrel on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Dual line Holly.
Yeah. How about the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro Z28, Fathom green, great color over black. Yep. True Z28, 1967 302 cubic inch V8, Muncie M24 speed manual, 12-bolt 410 gear posi axle, and a DZ 4-barrel carburetor. This is a great drive.
Still here?
Yeah,
I can't imagine that thing's still here.
I think
Did you say M22?
Yeah, I think it's got M20.
Oh, M20. Okay.
Yeah. So it's surprising that it's still here. And that Fathom green,
Beautiful color.
That's just a really great color. And then, last but not least, the 1937 Ford Model 78 pickup, Washington blue and black over black. We took it to a show last weekend.
Pretty
It was
car.
a
That's a
huge
pretty car.
success. TV commercial history this car has.
Really?
It does. Yeah. Briefly. I watched it.
Did you see it? Mm-hmm. Good for you.
Very brief.
You got nothing else to do?
But it's in, well, when I see a consignor say that, I got to
You
go
wanna
find
go
the
find
commercial.
it, right,
It
right.
is on YouTube, and it's just a split second.
Sure.
Of the
Hey,
track.
but it is what
It's
it is.
in there.
221 cubic inch flathead V8, 3-speed manual transmission, new steering, and brake parts.
I should say that it's in black and white too, because they're showing it as if it was period.
Gotcha.
So you can't see the blue, but it's a beautiful
The
truck.
old commercials that you see with old cars in them are fantastic, especially from the 60s. They were so
Yeah, oh, yeah.
creative in what they were doing with the commercials.
I love advertising and the commercials.
If you have an opportunity, look up Burt Weinman Ford.
Burt Weinman.
Out of Chicago. Yeah.
Right.
And he had the Sunday morning thing, and it was just, every Sunday you'd watch what were the new cars they were going to show.
Oh, I know. So exciting. So looks like for all intents and purposes, the auction is pretty much complete. We've been paid. We've been
Beautiful.
You know, most as you said earlier, most of the cars are gone. It looks like we're going to do another one March the 20th.
Wow.
March the 20th, 2026.
Mark your calendars, ladies and
Mark your
gentlemen.
calendars.
Wow.
And,
March the 20th, 2026.
March 20th, 2026, and it's going to be once again a no reserve auction. What does that mean? That means there will be no minimum. The car will sell. Your car will sell it to the high bidder, regardless of price. What we found out 2 weeks ago is that they don't let them go. Nobody's going to steal anything.
Right.
You're going to pay a fair market value, which is a deal what we call that is a good deal for the buyer and a good deal for the seller.
It's true.
And that's the best kind of scenario you can get. And that's what we absolutely had happen at the sale.
Are you looking for Are you looking for cars?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little ways out.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the problem, or if it is a problem.
Right.
You commit your car to the sale, you can't pre-sell it between now and whenever the auction is.
So wait on it.
So probably best to wait till we're about 3 months out, 2.5 months out, and then you can commit to the auction. And that way we can still market the car here until that time, if the car is already here. And if it's not here, we'll still consider it for the auction as well, too. So if you have anything, you can reach out to us. Our 888 number is having trouble again. So
is it
888-227-0914 is the number that's supposed to work.
You don't really need the 888 or 800 numbers anymore. I know they don't charge a toll.
I had a guy the other day got on to me. He said, "This is long distance." Okay.
Check your bill. Check your bill.
Maybe on his phone.
Is there roaming charges anymore?
I don't know.
No.
I've said this many times. Well, the first phone bill I got when I had a cell phone, the roaming charges were like $700.
Yeah.
It was like 1988. I was like, oh, ooh, wow.
Well, maybe out in some really rural areas, like they were still doing, was it AOL? They just stopped their internet service.
Oh, right.
People were upset about that, so maybe.
What was the web TV that they had back in the day, where you had a keyboard that hooked up your TV and you could get internet? And it was spotty to say the best, but so funny how far the internet has come since even 20 years ago. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
But it still stinks compared to what it'll be in even 5 years.
Or in 2 years, probably, I would imagine. I mean, the changes that are happening. It was just like I was reading somewhere, a guy was looking for airline tickets, and he had AI search it, and somehow AI was able to see things that you might not, if you just Googled airfares or something, you wouldn't find. But it could say, if you leave from Harrisburg and then fly back to Philly, and then you take a stop in Chicago, and then you go to Vancouver, it's 19 cents to fly. But if you go on their website, it's $1,900,
Yeah.
So who knows what it's going to be in 2 years? I mean, the way that exponential growth of the internet and everything is going is
scary.
Yeah, I mean, look at what your car can do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
Look what your analog car can't do.
Yeah.
You can get in an old car.
I always say my old Trans Am, I had one electric thing. It was the clock, and it didn't even work.
And it always failed.
And the radio never worked half the time because it was always, whatever. Really? So I'm really excited, like I said, about the auction. And if you're interested, just reach out to us, and we'll be glad to talk to you about it and what the particulars are. And we ended up with a barn burner of a sale, and I think everybody was pleased, and everything did what it was supposed to do. And the staff did a great job, and we heard so many compliments from people that, how terrific the staff was, and the professionalism of the setup, and the way that it was all handled in the back office with my wife, Kathy, who is amazing, and how she did that on top of doing her normal job is surprising, to say the least.
Poor Kathy.
Poor Kathy, yeah.
You're right here.
We'll give her a little clap.
There you go.
So,
golf clap.
A golf clap. So anything else we got to talk about?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, cool. Well,
great show.
That's that. A great show. Great guest.
Oh, yeah. Buy the book. Buy the book.
Yeah, buy his book and have it cargo freight shipped over. I guess they have them available in the United States, he said. They just were recently available in the United States. It was July over in Europe. And just recently, now they're available in the States.
I wonder if he travels anymore, because I have a friend who collects books.
Right.
Having a signed version.
Oh, sure.
Would be ideal.
And if you go to Evro Publishing, it's Power Unleashed.
Yeah. And so if you get a chance, we'll put that. Randy will put it up on the screen for us, and we'll see that. And join us next week. We'll have our friend Keith Martin will be back to join us next week. We were just running a little early because of the time difference between us and across the pond. But we'll see you next time on the Classic Auto Mall Show.
The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Sethier. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Video editor, Randy Lammy. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.